All right. We're officially OG after dark. We are live. I know there's already people in the comment section. I know people have been hitting the sports phone already. Go ahead and call the sports phone 919-444-2211. We're going to do our best attempt to take live calls with the sports phone. Do a
That
little
feels like progress.
little multitasking back here at the home base. But if we're going to do this after dark, it's time to talk about the drunken hour.
Little drunken hour, hooting at the clock. Welcome to our live stream, OG After Dark. Little drunken hour, hooting on the clock. Welcome to our live stream, OG After Dark.
If you can't tell that owl is an homage to the drunken toughie from the
Oh, okay.
1970 whatever that was, the combo basketball football schedule. That's like a legendary image. That's where the drunken owl comes from. Anyway, welcome to OG After Dark alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies. We are not inside Eford Studios tonight after NC State got crushed by Tennessee at the Duke's Mayo Classic because we don't want to deal with St. Vincent traffic on Fayetteville Street. It is officially hopscotch in downtown Raleigh, so we're not going back down there. We're just really not going back down there. From the Yeezy, Chung Yeezy, please talk for 2 hours so I could listen to the whole ride back home. I mean, I just cracked open a Magnifico from Groove Wagon, so we'll see how far we go tonight, man. We'll see how far we go tonight. We'll see
Cheers.
how that all works out. What do you shout out to Bruce?
Yeah, I got the same. Not Magnifico though. I can't handle it. I got the hopper.
Oh, you got the fence hopper. All right, I see you. I see you. I see you. All right, so let's go ahead and just kind of offer up some thoughts on what we saw tonight. Where clearly NC State was not ready for primetime again. I know you've got a wonderful or not so wonderful Dave Doeren stat when it comes to these kind of high profile games. And I think that's probably where the frustration comes from NC State fans. Say whatever you want about the hype, at least be competitive. I mean, I don't think there's a shame in losing to Tennessee. Another, very similar to NC State in that they go into the season with some expectations. That clearly looks like a team that can screw around and get in the college football playoff. But the whole point was that NC State was building to kind of look the same. And Joe, look, I did not watch the first half because I was at Wake Competition Center for a youth hockey game tonight. But I got in my car and I put on the Wolfpack Sports Network and I hear Tony Haynes say the very thing that Dave Doeren cannot stand when it comes to the offense, turnovers. And that pick six was absolutely brutal. I went back and I watched the play. And then when you combine, because at that point, for as much as you talked about Tennessee's offense going into this game, we talked about it with Ryan McGee. NC State statistically did a pretty decent job of keeping things in check. But you're going to screw your defense up when you got that pick six and it opens things wide open. And then the second half became just turnovers and turnovers from the fumble, everything else. And we've talked about this so many times. Grayson McCall was brought here with some expectations, and he did the very thing that has driven Dave Doeren nuts through all the quarterbacks that he has had at NC State, and that's the turnovers. And that's not the sole reason why they lost that game, but it certainly put this team in a bad spot in that first half, and then opened wide up with a bad defensive blown coverage there to open up the second half. And that was pretty much your ball game right there.
Yeah, I mean, to speak specifically about this game, my primary concern after watching Western Carolina was the offensive line. The offensive line was an issue in this game, to say the least. And the pressure on the pick six, so it's 10-3 Tennessee. State is moving the ball. They're getting into Tennessee territory, and you're feeling like, okay, they might be able to score a touchdown here and tie this game up. At worst, you're kicking a field goal, you're down 4. Maybe you go into the half down 4, feeling like, hey, we just kind of stole one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Instead, the pressure heats up McCall. He floats the pass to Jolie. The Tennessee defender picks it off and goes the length of the field. And really, you could have hit the official. You could have asked Goose on ER. What was his name? Anthony Edwards on ER.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards. Yeah.
But whatever his name, Doctor, whatever his name was on ER, he was always saying it. Like time of death. You could have said it right there, time of death.
Yeah. Yeah.
because the way Tennessee's front was kind of pushing NC State around, and then you had a litany of penalties. You hit the nail on the head there, Joe. This is not the way NC State wants to play. This is not the way Dave Doeren wants to play. The first drive, I thought they were able to piece together some first downs, and that was their formula. Shorten the game, make Tennessee's defense work. More importantly, leave Nico Iamaleava on the sideline and let that offense cool off, you know? So after the first drive ends without points, you're going, all right, you can live with that because you chewed up a lot of the clock. You shorten the quarter. And then Tennessee comes down and does what they do. And that's where you start kind of chasing your tail a little bit. And the real problem there, and on that first drive, it was a lot of Kevin Concepcion. After that, Tennessee was kind of like, oh, they only have one player. We are going to guard him. I know it's a crazy fucking theory, but, you know, some coaches actually believe in it. Screw you, John Harbaugh. No, listen, the way that State was unable to block Tennessee up front made this a difficult game for them to stay in. Then you compound that. They had Anthony Belton kept lining up too deep in the backfield. They were calling him off of the line, so they're calling an illegal formation, not enough men on the line of scrimmage. Some of those penalties thwarted some of their progress. There's no doubt about that. Then you have the turnovers, the pick six. And the concern here for Dave Doeren isn't that you don't really show up in this game, right? Like, this is a big stage, and they got embarrassed.
No, absolutely.
Embarrassed to the point where, like, Kirk and Reese are definitely working their B, C, D, E, F, G material. But besides you don't show up, and besides that you have this situation where you should feel embarrassed, which I'm now going to argue is probably a good thing for State, because we do know that Dave does his best work when everyone tells them explicitly you stink or you can't do it, right? Beside that, the big problem beside that now becomes McCall. You know, he did miss 6 games last year, and he did play at a lower level. Coastal Carolina was not, you know, certainly not at the Tennessee level. Yeah. And there was a jump there that, you know, you combine his time off from last year with a very serious concussion. You combine his adjustment to a new level. You combine his adjustment, Joe, to playing at a new school with a new OC and a bunch of new guys around him. Like, this is unfamiliar for him too. And I did caution against this in the offseason. When you add guys out of the portal, yes, it can be a great thing, but it can also take time. And I think NC State will obviously play better than they did tonight. I think they have some work to do to get there, of course. But that's what Dave has proven, that they will. You just want at some point for Dave to show that he can do something without being pushed up against the wall, without needing Steve to fabricate a Steve Smith slight. You know what I mean? Like, you just want him to show up in these games without a loss the previous week. You want his team to get hot from the beginning without having to fall to 2-3 or 2-4 on the season. You want to see him have those kind of moments. And, you know, at the risk of hijacking this after dark, you and I talk a lot about Mac Brown 2.0, right? Mm-hmm. For obvious reasons. He was at Carolina, went to Texas. There was a break, right? Well, and then he comes back to Carolina. I'm here to tell you, there's a Dave Doeren 2.0. Okay, you have Dave Doeren 1.0 was 13 through 19. You have the terrible year of 13, his first year. You have the terrible year of 19, the year that Boo Corrigan goes to him and says, "Hey, I'm not firing you, but I'm firing everybody else around you." They remake the staff, and now you get Dave Doeren 2.0. Dave Doeren 2.0, they're very proud of the fact that they're 35-17 and Dave Doeren 2.0. They're very proud that they have the second best ACC record over that time. All fair, right? Dave Doeren 2.0, though, is 4-10 now against ranked teams. The wins are over Liberty in the heart of the pandemic, a Clemson team at home in 21, and then Carolina and Wake in 22. Of those 4 wins against top 25 teams, only 1 is on the road, and Dave's already proven that the Carolina game is a little bit of an anomaly. That's the one you're always going to get the best out of his teams, regardless of the scenario. but 4-10, 31-7 against unranked teams. And that's where people are kind of coming around on Dave. You shouldn't be surprised on Dave, though. This is year 12. Okay.
Yeah, this is what it is.
Don't magically think something's going to change.
So that was the question, and this is something that you and I talked about all throughout the offseason leading into this game, and that was always about, okay, you understand that your defense is going to have a little bit of a growth trajectory. If there's one thing in all those years of Dave Doeren, you understand that there's going to be a development on the defensive side. And obviously, when we talked to Dave Doeren at ACC kickoff, there was a little bit of a chip on his shoulder about, I want this defense to think that they're not going to be as good as last year because they're missing Peyton Wilson. And again, early on, it looked like the defense was trying to hold it down against this Tennessee team. That's the very thing that we talked about with Ryan McGee on Thursday. You're not going to be able to get into a track meet with Tennessee, given as offensively talented as they are, but you can try to slow them down. And I think, what was the time of possession in the first half? I think NC State had the ball for like 17 plus minutes, and Tennessee only had it for 12 minutes. I mean, again, keep it away from Nico. That was the point. And that seemed to be something that they were trying to diligently work on. And then, of course, the pick six completely changes things around. And then you start the second half, as I said at the jump, from the jump on this podcast, that, they go right down the field and they made quick work of that defense. And then things just kind of unraveled from there. But the question that I had is that by now you kind of are what you are, and you're building teams the way you want to build teams. And I understand what the messaging was. You go out and get a talented veteran QB in Grayson McCall. You go and you get Noah Rogers to complement Casey Concepcion, so he's not the only weapon offensively. You spend the money to keep Casey. You go and you try to work on that running game as well, which has been a problem for Dave Doeren the last couple of years of getting a consistent run game. So all the pieces were put together. So all this discussion around NC State made a lot of sense. But the question that I always had was, we know how you like to win. We know what you're about. We know what it is that you like to do. And so far, out of the gate, you bring up the offensive line. Yeah, that's part of it. But clearly, they want to keep winning a particular way, maybe with some more offensive talent. It's not going to be an overly dynamic offense that we're going to see out of NC State going forward. But like I've seen a lot of stuff in the comment section. Like I brought it up earlier. Does NC State have to tank before turning it around? At least we're getting it done early this season. And that's the thing. NC State fans do not want to hear how they still have a season in front of them. They can turn things around in the ACC. They can compete for the ACC championship. But I think a lot of people are wondering is, what's the ceiling? Cool that you might get to the ACC championship game, but can you get over the hump? It gets to that stat that you just broke out against these ranked opponents and everything else. So a lot of questions to be answered for NC State this upcoming season. From Ken, worst loss: State, Auburn, Michigan, or Notre Dame? It's got to be the Notre Dame game, right?
Well, what's funny? Not only was tonight you don't show up, not only was tonight you get embarrassed, not only was tonight, now you got a question about your quarterback going forward, because you do.
Yeah,
you do.
Yeah,
you're at a crossroads already, and in that sense, I feel empathy for Dave. I think he just wants a normal year of quarterback play.
Yes,
and I think they're going to have to give Bailey a long, hard look in the next game, because what Grayson's done in these first two games, it's not good enough. And Dave figured it out last year. To his credit, again, he pushed all the right buttons last year. I know he went into this season hoping not to do all of that. But again, now you have those three things, right? How about this now? There were 3 upsets today.
Yeah.
Cal beat Auburn, right?
ACC legends, baby.
We won't hear a word about how the SEC sucks now because they lost at home to Cal, right?
Well, you saw Alabama. You saw Alabama struggling today too, right?
Yeah. Hey, how funny was it that I used Auburn losing to New Mexico State last year as an example? And what do? They turn around and lose to an ACC team.
Yeah.
Cool. Syracuse, technically home dog against a ranked top 25 team in Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Brent Key now 5-7 against unranked ACC teams. 5-0 against ranked.
It's hilarious. It's the wildest thing. The wildest thing, man. The wildest thing.
And then, of course, Northern Illinois beats Notre Dame. 35-point dogs. Cal NIU, Syracuse. What do they have in common? They're all on NC State's schedule. So that easy peasy schedule now, and Georgia Tech's on there too.
That's
So
pretty
now
funny.
that easy peasy schedule that you thought you were gonna just doo lope through. Whoops. Even that looks a little bit more daunting after tonight.
It's the law of the wolf, man. The law of the wolf. Daily Braves on the YouTube comments. McCall can't throw downfield. He throws INTs on layups 2 weeks in a row. McCall ain't it. Might as well let CJ Bailey try not to waste these offensive weapons. From Chilton, McCall's afraid to get hit, playing very scared. Yeah, again, McCall looked lost. McCall does look scared to get hit. You know, a lot of this stuff, you know, plethora of offensive toys, my ass. I mean, hey, look,
Listen, I don't want to pin all this, and we shouldn't, and it's never all on one person with the
It's
quarterback
not.
and the
It's
way that he
not.
played. Like, I think you do. I said this last week. There is a grace there of a guy who, if you've read the ESPN story, blacked out and has no memory of his concussion from last year. So
Right.
I can understand some of that. The offensive line is truly the problem because it doesn't matter what pieces you have. And Robert and I tried on a couple of different things to move some things around. They had a funky formation, and that was a bad throw. If that's a better throw, that's a touchdown for Concepcion. But there's only so much you can do when your left guard and your left tackle can't block anyone. Like they're not
Yeah.
blocking anyone. So
Yeah.
there's last year Michigan national champs Jim Harbaugh considered one of the best coaches on any level, right? His left tackle was blocking no one and made Penn State's Chop Robinson look like the greatest thing of all time. What did he do in the second half? They literally did not attempt to pass. So, State obviously couldn't run the football, but when you have two guys like that, and then they have too much in their scheme where they count on the tight end to come across a formation and make a block. They used to have guys who could really do that well. They don't have that right now. And there were a couple of early plays where the tight end was coming across on a pulling action and just really it's asking too much against Tennessee's front,
From Joe Murphy. So when does NC State boycott Dukes and adopt Hellman's as their official mayo? I mean, yeah, they're probably over this thing at this point, right?
0-3 in Charlotte now under Dave, and 1-6 against the SEC.
Yikes. Our guy Paul gonna buy Giglio a fish on the wall. This thing's Ricky. All right, Paul. I see you, Paul. I see you. Let's see. You know what? I said we'd take live phone calls theoretically. So let's go to the OGs. What do we got on the OG sports phone? Let me switch the background here. We got the little sports phone action going on. Let me see what we got here.
David from Smithfield.
Okay, hold on. Shout out to David in Smithfield, man. You want to talk about OGs? No live phone call segment is complete without David in Smithfield. This warms my heart. Like to no end. I had no idea this was David in Smithfield. I'm just taking these MP3s off the Google Voice and going from there. So let's see what happens.
The hell, 37-3. How much did we pay for this quarterback? As a fan, I know what talent looks like. This team's got talent, and we pick a quarterback that can't even run the team. This is how you get your ass fired right here. When's the last time we beat an SEC team? It's ridiculous. We look like a damn high school quarterback out there trying to play football. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's about time we start. We spend all this money for this shit. Bullshit. David from Smithfield. What in the hell?
It's looping. Hold on a second. What's the next one here?
David from Smithfield again.
Oh, that's right. Because he called it. He called it when it was like 37, whatever.
37-3.
So, you know
yeah, let him have his therapy.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
You know, this is the most disappointing thing I've ever seen. We spent all this money. I thought this team could win the ACC. I've talked about it all off season. They're going to be so good. And I guess this is the life of NC State fan. Thank God for the basketball team.
Is Steve Smith somewhere? Like, hey, Dave, what up?
Well, that's the thing that you have to be disappointed in if you're like a younger NC State fan, right? If you weren't hardened and prepared for this one,
Yeah.
you only get so many of these chances. Like you and I think, oh, they played this game in 2017. Time they played Tennessee in Atlanta, that was like what, 3 years ago, buddy?
No,
That was that was 12 for Tennessee and 17 for South Carolina. So you don't get these chances often, and when you can't produce and make a competitive game in these spotlight moments, you put yourself behind. You leave yourself kind of out of the raffle of like, hey, well, who would viewers be interested in? I mean, I can get those Florida State fans on here. You know what I mean?
You want to
Like,
talk
they'd
about
be very excited.
dude, you want to talk about you want to talk about these opportunities and putting State in prime time. I mean, there's a reason why I titled tonight's After Dark "Not Ready for Prime Time," but you could say that about NC State in general when it comes to football. They never really are ready for prime time. It's not even games like this. It's even games like where they were supposed to be somewhat competitive against Clemson on a cold ass night at Carter Finley Stadium, and everybody left in the first quarter because it was such a blowout. That becomes embarrassing while you're doing it on TV. And yeah, to your point, NC State gets these opportunities to go on these primetime matchups, a top 25 matchup, and you get invited to the Duke's Mayo Classic. And then my brother texts me because he's at the game. My brother went to the game with his buddies and my large adult sons. And it was like, what did he say? He texted me a picture. Is this a Panthers game or the blowout of an NC State game at Bank of America Stadium? Because the crowds look very, very similar at that point. All right, let's see what else we got on the sports phone here.
Hey, Joe, it's me, your large adult son, Alex. I'm at the game right now. I'm not having the best time. I don't think this helps the narrative that Dave Doeren can't win big games, but who am I to say? I think Hollywood Smothers should be the starting running back, and that's about all I got. 5 stars, good vibes only, all that jazz. I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right, what else we have here?
Hey, Joe, it's your other adult son here at the NC State Tennessee game. I gotta say,
You didn't say your
sorry, this is Drew, your other adult son at the Tennessee NC State game. Gotta say, not going well. Positive vibes only. I'm watching Tennessee score. Yeah, Joe, the vibes are not great if you're an NC State fan. I don't think this does anything for Dave Doran's whole can't win big games thing. I will say, as a State fan, it was worth the ACC tournament win, and it was worth the Final Four if it means we had to sacrifice this football season. Those are my thoughts. Positive vibes only. 5 stars. Hope you guys have a great night. Bye.
They scored in real time while he was leaving a message. All right, $50 says this is my brother. The next one, because I'm taking these blind again. I just have the MP3 that I download, and then I just upload them and I see what I got here.
Hey, Joe, it's your brother,
See, I told you, called it.
David. I'm realizing I need to stop spending money on seeing NC State live. I did the Mayo Bowl against Maryland, a loss. I go to the Final Four. It was cool, but a loss. And now this. I need to stop doing this. Also, Grayson McCall he's not it. And I might regret saying that now. He's going to throw absolute piss missiles against Clemson in our revenge game. But we'll see. All right, love you. Bye.
From Will Levis, collector. NC State got that FCS treatment tonight by the Vols. Goodness gracious. From Fireball, we played like shit, 151-10. Y'all scored 10 because of Nico mess ups. All right. See, from Kyle, no more Charlotte games. I think a lot of NC State fans are very much like that. From Sixers fan, Tennessee's really good. Let's give Dave Doeren a chance, buddy. State fans ain't here for that one. Raider 34 Life would give my right nut for Ryan Finley. Oh, that's that Giglio. That was right up your alley, dude. Right up your alley.
No. But this gets back to what I said. If you're a younger State fan, you don't remember Phillip. You barely remember Russ.
Yeah.
So you look at Ryan as a guy who basically didn't make mistakes, was able to distribute the ball, was a perfectly fine quarterback, made Dave Doeren a lot of money, maybe made Eli Drinkwitz even more money.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand if you are a younger fan, you go, well, no, here's a guy we had for 3 years was perfectly acceptable. Because you don't understand the other two guys.
Had a couple of texts to the OG Sports phone. Our QB has 0 arm strength. Our O-line is terrible in the run game. Our right side D-line is a sieve. The 3-3-5 defense is average at best without elite linebackers. Dave can't coach in big games. Let's beat up on the schools of the blind and get 7-8 wins and brag about it. Of course, the key feature there is to beat North Carolina in that process. And I'm not going to play that hit just yet. You always got to play the hits, but I'm not going to play that hit yet. Genuinely curious, how does NC State take the leap? This is from another OG Sports phone text. ACC is wide open this year. Granted, this wasn't a conference game, but it's really tough to feel like this is the year. How did we miss so badly on transfers? McCall doesn't appear to be the dude we thought. Another wasted defense. I love Dave, but I'm at a loss for what it would take to put a competent offense on the field. Oh, well, had a lovely evening with great friends, and since the season tickets are so cheap relative to good schools, so I think NC State football is a good value in terms of entertainment, felt like I got what I paid for. That's a very pragmatic way of looking at these things. I do enjoy that. I do enjoy that. Let's see what else we got here. This is a valid point here. No one in the ACC would beat Tennessee this year. Let's be real. Would probably run the score up on everyone in the ACC. No love for Miami. How about that? From Chilton, a student from Coastal told me over the summer that McCall was known to be out for himself only and not a great team player. I thought he was just mad that he transferred, but maybe not. That's the kind of stuff that you get after, you get a loss like that. I mean, Will also kind of pointing this out too on the comment section. We were sitting right behind the team. No one spoke to Grace McCall pretty much the whole game. I think we have a leadership issue. That's starting early there. But Joe, it kind of gets back to what you started off with the other quarterback and Dave having to have yet another just a season that doesn't really have the continuity or the consistency on the quarterback end. And we've just seen this in 2 games. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not ready to make that call yet or get too deep into that. I'll chalk up the Western Carolina game as one of those, first game of the season. Weird things happen. I think in week 2, we saw some even weirder things that happened. I know you're shaking your head. I'm trying to be a little bit more pragmatic about this because, again, in early season college football, we see weird stuff. You don't see stuff gel, right? And then today, today sucked. I mean, like, there's really no other way to put it. It sucked for NC State, straight up. I mean,
sure.
that was just bad all around. But I would be curious to see how they bounce back against Louisiana Tech this upcoming weekend and see how they look offensively there. Because like everybody understands, they usually under Dave Doeren do a good job of bouncing back. So we'll see if something like that actually turns out against Louisiana Tech. If they continue to struggle offensively against Louisiana Tech, if Grayson McCall still looks like he's just kind of working through it, and that's maybe where it's early enough in the season. Oh, wrong button there.
Whoa.
Oh, wrong button. Point being, to wrap up my point here, there's still enough time before you get into ACC play to make that decision. That's all. Something like that.
No, I here's the thing about with the risk of continually repeating myself. You know how I feel about when I see things when you see them, right?
Yeah, I know.
And it takes you 7 seconds. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
The offensive line really, really, really struggled against Western Carolina. Okay. And it's not that they struggled against a team and you go, oh no, Western Carolina is so bad. What does this mean for the rest of the season? No, it's that they struggled, period, in a game where that everything should have been scripted and everything should have gone according to plan, particularly in that first quarter. That is a humongous red flag, kind of like Hubert back in the day when they lost. Remember, I told you they didn't cover Hubert Davis in Carolina basketball, the opening game, and they didn't cover, and they looked weird, and he kind of gave it the old, oh, those are yellow flags, right? Is that what he called them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a yellow flag when you can't run stuff and run through Western Carolina. That's a red flag when your offensive line struggles that way.
Yeah.
This game started the same way. Now, also, Concepcion has catches and touches on 3 of the first 4 plays of this game. He only touches the ball twice the rest of the game. That's not going to work. Now, a lot of that, though, again, in terms of identifying what's up with McCall and what's not, it's a lot to it. And one of the questions was, what does State have to do to make a leap? And I think a lot of teams are seeing this now. And it's not just State, okay? I think Texas has the right idea. I think teams, now Texas has a lot of money, so maybe I'll try to find you a different one. But I think any program that can keep a quarterback and then augment the offense around that quarterback is going to have more success than when you wholesale groups. It was asking a lot of anybody, even under the best conditions, to come in and have a whole new group, right? Quarterback with the skill players, the way that McCall has had to come in. And that's a double kind of asking a guy who, missed 6 games last year and suffered a severe concussion, and again, making that step up. So I don't want to pin all of that on McCall when the offensive line is clearly a big problem. The offensive line was a big problem last year too, remember, up until the Duke game. And then they solved it.
Yeah.
So I do think they will play better as the year goes along. I bet you in November they look really good at some point, and you're like, man, I really wish they could play Tennessee right now. I could almost promise you that's what's going to happen. But that quarterback, now the offensive line, you got to go back and do what you did. Remember, they had to bench some people, right?
I'm sorry, Joe. I'm distracted. I forgot I turned on the you can give us some money to comment feature on YouTube. So shout out to Gail. Threw us $20 for the super sticker. Appreciate you, Gail. Thanks.
I don't know what the super sticker is.
Neither do I. Just that somebody gave us $20.
Sweet. Obviously, we're taking that.
Yeah, we'll take it. Thank you.
But no, the McCall question becomes just like last year with Brennan, right? To your point, you have a pick 6 in this game that turns it. You have an interception that leads to a first touchdown last week that kind of leaves you in scramble mode. Mm-hmm. So we know Dave will tolerate a lot of things, but he's not going to tolerate turnovers. That is the one stat he's most proud of, like what his team's record is when they are either even in the turnover margin or winning the turnover margin. So that's like, you talk about year 12, you talk about bedrocks of what he believes. That's number 1. I mean, that's absolutely number 1. And he, as we saw last year after that Louisville game, where Armstrong threw the second half interceptions and cost him that game and ultimately a spot in the ACC championship game, that's not something he's going to tolerate. So that's why I say, again, you're at a crossroads. And when the question was, how do you make the leap? Man, in some sort of perfect world, MJ Morris doesn't opt out last year. MJ Morris comes into this year as your number 1 quarterback, and then you have some sort of continuity between OC and some of the other players. Again, you look at Quinn Ewers today with a transfer from Maryland, Oregon State, and Alabama, just carving up a pretty good Michigan defense.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think MJ Morris makes a difference in this game tonight?
No. What I'm saying is, if you can have that quarter, like the person saying what I would do for Ryan Finley. Ryan Finley gave you continuity, right? So the only way I see NC State making a real leap, as the original kind of point was made, going from these 8 and 9 win level to a 10, 11, 12 win level, is there has to be some sort of continuity at that quarterback position. And the only way to do that as NC State is probably to develop one, which, Jacoby Brissett was a transfer. Ryan Finley was a transfer. Brendan Armstrong last year. Now you've got Grayson McCall. That hasn't been what Dave has done, right? So I would say to you that to me is how I feel like they could make the leap.
So here's where I'll push back on that, and we'll get into some gambling aspect on that too. So it gets back to what I said at the beginning of the live stream for those who are just joining us now on the After Dark on YouTube. I don't know if the way Dave likes to construct a team and go about things offensively is conducive to winning games like this. You have to play perfect. NC State is a school that lives like 98-99% of other college football programs. They're not Texas. They don't have I have more of a problem with Florida State and all the money they have theoretically missing on the transfer portals, right? It gets back to what Nick Saban said about all these rosters. You can have a $20 million roster in NIL, but if you don't spend it right, well, you're going to get screwed. Nick Saban's absolutely right by saying that. Absolutely right in saying it. And if money were really the thing, then Texas wouldn't have taken this long to actually look legit. Although I do think some of that has to do with the fact that Michigan's not that good. But that's another story we can get into later in the week. So Dave wants to win a very specific way. The problem is you have to play perfect, which gets to the turnover problems and why that is the thing that you just simply cannot do for Dave Doeren. Giving the ball back, pick six aside, just throwing an interception in that situation while you're driving down the field. That was what, 16, 17 plays to get down the field before that pick six? Okay. So that right there is what Dave wants to do. That right there is what it is. You just can't end it with a turnover. But I don't even know if that level of ball control was going to be enough against what Tennessee's got offensively, what they've got talent-wise. And that's probably going back to your stat at the beginning of all of this, or where Dave is in these top 25 matchups. It's good enough to compete in the ACC. It's good enough to flirt with winning a division. It's good enough to flirt with getting to 10 wins, which they haven't crossed over into yet. But that's where they keep, people keep wondering, what do you have to do to get over? What do you have to do to get over? I don't know if they can, given the way that they want to play. Again, it all comes down to what do you expect out of your football program? And for most college football programs out there, getting to 9 wins a year with a chance to win to 10 is pretty damn good. But I also understand, and I'm not trying to belittle what this season was positioned as. And Joe, I know you said that the pressure might be a little bit off because of what happened with basketball, both men's and women's, getting to the Final Four, or what happened with baseball, getting to the College World Series, that winning an ACC championship in basketball really was a breakthrough moment where, State fans can feel good about themselves. But I also think that is kind of diminishing the siloed expectations for the various programs, and where Kevin Keats was in this program for basketball versus where Dave Doeren is. And as you said, Dave Doeren 2.0 is something that we don't really see in the triangle a lot, right? We don't see coaches in the triangle make it to 12 years. We just don't. They make it 5, they make it 6, maybe they make it 7, but they ain't making it this long. And that's why I think it's kind of interesting that once the rubber hits the road here and what we're talking about with NC State, I do think it's completely valid for State fans to be like, what the hell? This was supposed to be a different year. Instead, we're just getting more of the same. From the YouTube comments, I'm 40, Joe. Raider for Life paid $9.99 to make sure you saw this comment, Joe.
I know.
Okay? He paid $9.99 to make sure this comment got through. All right? Not a young Wolfpacker. I take Jamie Barnett.
Still relative now, 40.
maybe even Terry Harvey.
Yeah. It's funny, though. It's funny you're saying that about Dave and getting to year 12, because before the season started, I believe it was Andrew Adelson wrote a feature about Dave Doeren.
Yeah.
He kind of made some comments about 16 and Debbie Yao and how, she was actually in the process of replacing him, but he won the game in Chapel Hill, and that was one of the first hurdles that he had to get over. But it's interesting because if you look at working on this concept of Dave Doeren 1.0, He's 47 and 41 in those first 7 years, Joe. That's 53%. You know what that also matches? NC State's school average. That's their winning percentage all time, 53%. So what's remarkable for Dave, as you point out, not only is getting to year 12, but flourishing in this 2.0 mode. In the last 4 years, they've won 68% of their football games. Again, the issue being 4-10 against ranked opponents. So that's where you see kind of some of this. Well, what is NC State? Because you're fighting a lot here, right? You're fighting what is NC State. You're fighting what is your coach. Those are two things you're fighting. So, that's your credit goes to Dave 2.0 has outperformed the history of NC State football. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah.
He has outperformed it, but he also can't seem to get to that next step.
And hey, look, I want to be abundantly clear. Where Dave Doeren has got NC State is better than anything that I've ever experienced out of NC State since I've been living here since 1995. I mean, yeah, State's had those, as I like to call them, you need a cigarette after the fact games in their history, but that's also been met with following it up with a stupid loss. I mean, that was NC State's history for a long time. So Dave's done a really good job of kind of rewriting or reprogramming what the expectations are for NC State football. Catch hot fire, burn out quickly. Next thing you know, the boisterous Chuck Amato, who's showing up in a white suit and alligator print cowboy boots, tones all that stuff down before he eventually gets fired, right? So, I mean, we've seen all this stuff play out before. So I'm not trying to act as though Dave hasn't accomplished anything at NC State. He has. And when I say he kind of is what he is, that's all of us at this point. We all kind of have a way of doing things, and we can add little wrinkles here and there to kind of broaden your tool set and how you go about things. But at the end of the day, you still are kind of what you are. I've been doing this for a long ass time. But at the end of the day, I still kind of am what I am. Same with you, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting over here giving you records.
Right. You got yellow
what other tricks
pad
do
things.
I have? I mean, it's not on a yellow pad today, but what new tricks am I learning here in year 12?
Right. And what tricks do I have? Right. I'm somewhat dangerous with technology and I go on vibes. That's just what I've been doing. Okay. Oh, we got more people paying money for comments. Jeez, man. $10.69. I love this. Fans should support the team when they win and lose. I'm embarrassed of NC State fans who get dramatic about a loss to a great team. I think that's true of any fan base. It's not any one particular thing about NC State.
I forgot already what all the messages in my phone look like, but
oh geez, I'm sure that's a disaster zone.
There's a difference, as you said for a long time, of covering a game, right? There's a difference between going to a game, at home even, right? And then there's a difference when you start investing and going to these road games.
Mm-hmm.
The truth of the matter is, I spent a bunch of money to go to the Maryland Bowl game. My whole family went.
Right.
And when they didn't show up in that game, I just said, I'm never coming to watch them play in Charlotte again.
How much did the family spend to go to that Clemson game?
Oh God.
I'm still. I remember that was the one. I remember that was the one. You came back. You came back to the office. You're like, nope. You were mad.
But it's not. That's me having a fan experience, right? Because that's where the fans are. Like Chung saying, these next 2 hours, and people continue to go there because they want to be there for when it happens, right? But then ultimately, you start having those. You can't help but on that 2-hour drive now think about the South Carolina game, to think about the Mississippi State game, to think about the Kentucky game, to think about Kansas State, all of these other games that you went and you invested in, and you're like, I had this talk with my junior in high school, Einstein's definition of insanity. We have to stop doing the same things over and over and expecting new results. So that's why I put my foot down this week about Charlotte. And I had any number of people. You go to Charlotte. You go to Charlotte. You go to Charlotte. Like every one of our sponsors.
Dude, I had
was like, "Are you going to be in Charlotte?"
Yeah, man. I had a ton of people. I had a ton of people reaching out to me. You guys going to be in Charlotte? I mean, we could have done. I had sponsor stuff. People, hey, come out and do the EA College Sports 25 thing. I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to be at Way Competition Center, being the team manager, so I will not be able to make it. I understand where you're coming from. I got some interesting notes on the OG Sports phone, and then a direct thing that I got from the Carolina Charlotte game. Oh yes, DraftKings is in the house. OG24 is the promo code. You use that promo code with DraftKings, you will get $250 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. That's right. You can score big with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, the best place to bet touchdowns, overs, futures, you name it. I love the parlays. You know I'm all about that $5 gang. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use that code OG24, and new customers who bet $5 will get $250 in bonus bets plus 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on DraftKings. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. I got a text to the OG Sports phone, and it said, not only did NC State lose, but Vegas lost tonight. Everyone bet Tennessee spread. Is that true, Joe?
Yeah, the money was on Tennessee and moved up to 9. There were some fortunate people who had this game in the preseason at Tennessee minus 4.5. So yeah.
Okay.
Now the number I believe was 61. So that just goes to show you how incredible the guys in Vegas are.
Yes.
No, I thought the safe play from this game was to take Grayson McCall and throw 2 touchdowns. That obviously did not come home. So 59.5 is what the total went off at.
From our guy Alex, he was at the North Carolina Charlotte game earlier today. He's a Charlotte guy. He wants us to talk to Biff at some point here. And Brownlow and I, by the way, the OG After Dark tonight was obviously about NC State, Tennessee. For the rest of the ACC, and it was a pretty interesting day of the ACC. Lauren Brownlow and I will be talking about that on the ACC Panic Room, which you can subscribe to on OG Fans. Just go to ogtrianglemedia.com. But Alex had texted me, Niners fans walking past the old well chanting, Charlotte covered, clap, clap, clap. So Charlotte didn't win, but hey, man, they covered. And what do you say about teams?
Good teams win, great teams cover. Yeah.
That's exactly it. So use the DraftKings Sportsbook app. NFL Week 1 is here, and DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. So go check that out. Tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun on NFL Sunday. So again, use that promo code OG24. New customers bet $5. You'll get $250 in bonus bets plus 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on DraftKings. NFL Plus Premium offers only available to new and former NFL Plus Premium subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms. Again, use that promo code OG24.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
It's funny. I had some more people chiming in on this stuff. You know, Aaron, is it bad I saw this coming and made $300 on the loss? No. Not bad.
No.
That's not bad. That's not bad from Christian. Made $250 for Tennessee to cover the spread. Saw it coming. All right, we'll shut down the OG After Dark after this comment because the groove wagon's hitting and your boy's getting sleepy. So from Scott Barnes, Dave asked for NIL money. I mean, he's not alone. All coaches are, I'm editorializing here. All coaches are asking for NIL money, folks. Straight up. They're all asking for NIL money. He's not alone. That's the name of the game, okay? Dave asked for NIL money, and a lot of fans.
You've heard this tonight, though. So
What's
you
that?
see this different dynamic of this. They had a significant investment this year. Their budget went up significantly this year.
Yeah,
and I've told you and I are in both agreement on this. NIL is not the school sharing their money. NIL is going to the fans and saying, "Hey, I need more money." So guess who's going to be mad when their investment doesn't get a return? The fans. I mean,
but the fans have always been, investing. The fans have always been paying for this stuff. The fans were mad when they had to pay for personal seat licenses. You're right.
Yeah.
There's all sorts. The fans get mad. Like, you want me to give you X amount of money so I can have the pulled pork circuit with them? Yeah, man. They're always asking money for fans. This is just the first time that we've cut out the bullshit. We just cut out the bullshit. We need this money so we can retain players and go get players to complement the players that we are retaining. That's the game. And yeah, to your point, and we both agree on this, all you're doing is setting yourself up for more, for lack of a better term, accountability and having to answer for, you asked us for this, we expect results, not this. And I'll just tie it all together with what I said. It's one thing to lose to Tennessee. Again, losing to Tennessee isn't the problem. It's how they look tonight in losing to Tennessee. That's the problem. That's what's got people mad. And when you tie it all together with the other instances when the lights have been on and NC State has some serious all right, what are you going to show today? And this is what you get. There you go. The only thing that's left now is a part of this, hero's arc of football season. It's all right. How is Dave going to pull 8 or 9 wins out of his ass again? Because he's done it before. I say out of his ass like it's easy to do. That's not what I'm getting at. So let me rephrase that. How will Dave break out the duct tape, the paper clips, and all the other things to be MacGyvering an 8 or 9 win season? That's the question now for the rest of the year. He'll probably do it because that's what he's consistently done. The only question is, how is it going to look with this season? You got any closing thoughts, Joe?
I do think Tennessee was good. There's people did Tennessee play? Blah, 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 blah. No, they were good. I mean, their defense kind of showed up a little bit there. That was kind of nice for them. Obviously, the reason NC State's offensive line looks so bad was because Tennessee's defensive line was so good. So that's definitely part of it. But I mean, we're talking about the Wolves here, people.
I feel like this is a question for Patrick Stevens if you don't have the time for the homework, Joe, but we'll close on this. When's the last time NC State won on ABC?
I'd have to look it up.
I'm sure their ABC record's it's probably not so hot. It's probably not so hot. And Thomas is joining the OG After Dark a little bit late, but schedule looks a little harder now than preseason with Georgia Tech, Northern Illinois, and Cal looking better than expected. Yeah, Joe, you pointed that out earlier.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things. So, yeah.
All right, that's gonna wrap it up. We appreciate everybody who jumped on the chat. If you like what we do, by all means, just hit that subscribe button, hit the likes, do all that stuff. What do you?
Don't forget to play the disclaimer.
What disclaimer?
You did the DraftKings ad.
I played the disclaimer. Did you
miss
it? Yeah, I think you missed it. I played it.
No.
I think you missed it.
And in Kansas. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, no, we played the disclaimer. Are you drinking the Groove Wagon too, dude? You must be drinking the Groove Wagon as well. I played the disclaimer. Just saying. I'll play it again. You know what? I'll play it again.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Shout out to my people. He did. Well, there's a cover 2. He played it. Maybe this After Dark is drunk enough. No, I think Joe's just too high. I think he's just too high. Anyway, folks, we appreciate it. We will see you all on the normal podcast on Monday.
Little drunken hour, hooting out the cloud. Welcome to our live stream, OG After Dark. Little drunken hour, hooting on the cloud. Welcome to our live